Assalamu alaikum. How are you? How are you doing these days? What are you thinking about business communication? How have you found this subject? Interesting or difficult? Let's see what happened. If you recall, we have done 7 C's. We have seen that what clarity is, how can we achieve clarity in our communication. We have seen that you need to give something extra to achieve this quality. We have seen what courtesy is. So now you know that courtesy doesn't mean that you are simply inserting some phrases like thank you and so and so. It's just the tone of the letter that is courteous. You've seen what consideration is. Putting you attitude into your communication is showing you attitude. Similarly, you have seen that what correctness principle is and how can we eliminate different types of mistakes in our communications. So we have gone through all these principles. We have seen that how can we make good letters, good reports, good memos. The memos, the reports, the letters which are reader-oriented, which are written from with the reader in mind. So let's do some practice about the things that we have done. I mean 7 C's. So if you find now anything that is written with complex word, lacking you attitude, having no clarity, having a lot of grammatical mistakes, so we want to see whether you can find any mistake in it or not. So if you can, it means that you have learned something from this, and this is what we are here for, both you and me. So if you find such a sentence, a conference call will afford us an opportunity to interrogate the numerous remuneration proposals and consummate the rumors. So if you find such a sentence, what is your opinion? Now, obviously, the very first thing about this is that it has a lot of complex words or phrases, and they need to be replaced with simple words, with crispy words, words that communicate, words that bring clarity into this idea which is given in these sentences. So let's see how can we do it. A conference call will afford us an opportunity. So will afford us an opportunity can be replaced with a very simple word. We can simply say allow us. So it goes like this: a conference call will afford us to interrogate. Interrogate is a high frequency word. It's a formal word. So it can be replaced with a very easy word which is understandable to each one of us. What's that? What comes into your mind? Yes, ask. So we can make it to ask instead of interrogate. To ask, right? The numerous. Numerous, what comes to your mind? With which word you are going to replace it? Yes, many. So it becomes to ask the many. So we replace numerous with many. Remuneration. Remuneration is a high frequency word, is a formal word. Again, difficult to be understood by a lot of people. So, if you use a very simple word instead of this, we can achieve clarity, simplicity. So, just use, instead of remuneration, payment. So, you see that payment, it's very understandable. I'm sure that all of us do understand it. So, it becomes the many payment proposal and consummate the rumors. Consummate. Consummate again is a very high frequency word. What is its alternative? How can you replace it? With which word you will replace? Consummate. Yes, it can be complete, it can be finish, it can be end. So pick up, in this context, we can pick up either end or finish. So we say finish. So if we now look at this, we will find that after this replacement, this becomes very easy, very understandable. It will be clear. You know that clarity give force to your sentences, and you get your message across to your listener, to your reader. So that's why we emphasize on this fact that always choose very simple words or phrases which are understandable to each one of us. People know them. They are conversational, as if we are talking to each other. So that's why we say that to achieve clarity, we must use simple words, conversational words. So you have seen just now that by replacing these complex words with simple words, we have achieved clarity, and this clarity is very good. This is the desired quality of any communication. Let's have another sentence. I want to take this opportunity to thank you for arranging to send me a computer that is exactly identical to one in my office. This letter is to acknowledge receipt of and thank you for your check number so and so in the amount of rupees so and so. So if you look at this, don't you feel that a lot of words have been added into it? Simply the writer wants to thank you, and he doesn't want anything else, but he has simply used a lot of words. So instead of saying, I want to take this opportunity to thank you for arranging, you can simply say, I thank you. You can simply say, I thank you. And instead of saying exactly identical, again you are using two words which are repeating one another. So instead of saying exactly identical, you can simply convey identical. Similarly, this letter is to acknowledge receipt of and thank you. Acknowledge receipt of and thank you can again be replaced with thank you in the amount of for. You can use it. So just bringing some very simple word, you can achieve the quality of conciseness. And conciseness is a very desirable quality in communication. So whenever you are communicating, all these 7 C's should be well before you. You must read your communication to think whether there is clarity, there is conciseness, there is consideration, concreteness, correctness, and so on. Let's have another example. We have 30 reservations at the present writing. So I'm taking the liberty of sending you an update list. Again you see that there are words which can be replaced with simple words. Instead of saying at the present writing, you can replace it with just one word which is simple, understandable, and brings your message across, and that is now. So you will save word as well. Don't you see that a lot of time we use more word than they are required or needed, and this affects the overall cost of communication. So instead of saying at the present writing, if you replace it with we have 30 reservation now, the sentence is very precise, shorter. Similarly, so I'm taking the liberty of sending you, I am taking the liberty of sending you, can be replaced with, so I'm sending you, with two words, and the meaning is conveyed. So this sentence can be conveyed into, we have 30 reservation now, so I'm sending you an update list. Just a simple sentence, very understandable sentence, concise, clear, complete as well. Yeah, complete as well. So let's have another example. Between you and I, she has a long ways to go to be an estate agent. Irregardless of the person which you select, I'm real pleased. So if you have this type of a sentence, you will certainly find that it got a lot of mistake in it. It violates the correctness principle as well as other principles. So if you have to do it between you and I, what's wrong with it? Which grammatical principle is being violated? Between is a preposition, and after a preposition we have pronouns in this sentence. And which case of pronouns is to be used? How many cases are there? Subjective, objective, possessive. Anyone else? Let's do with these. So what's the problem with it? Which case do we require? Between is a preposition, and after preposition we need an objective case of both noun and pronoun. So far as you is concerned, it's correct, because it can be either subjective or objective. But what about I? This is, which case is this? Subjective or objective? Subjective. No. Yes. I is a subjective pronoun. But what is required here? We require an objective case. An objective case of this pronoun, first person pronoun, is me. So it should go like this. Between you and me, she has a long ways. So what about this one? A long ways. You know that this noun phrase, a long ways, has one article, an indefinite article. So this indefinite article shows that we need to have a singular noun, because we have a, so noun of this phrase got to be a singular one. So we can't have a plural one. So it should go like this, a long way. Between you and me, she has a long way to go to be an estate agent. What next? Irregardless. What's wrong with this? Irregardless. What is it? This is already a negative word. Negative word means that it gives a meaning of negation in it. Regardless. So you can't have two, because this prefix also gives the meaning of not. So we can't have double negative in it. And beside, this word actually is regardless. There is no such word which is irregardless. So It should go like this: regardless of the person which. Again we have person which. What's wrong with it? Which is a relative pronoun, isn't it? Oh yes. To write good English, you also need to be familiar with all these things. Unless you are, you won't be able. So, what's wrong with this? Which? Person which. Yeah, you're right. Person who. As relative pronoun we use which for things and who for persons. And whenever, I don't want to discuss this rule in detail because that's not, but just to give you an idea, whenever you are in problem that you are to use which or who, pick up another word. What's that? That. So it can go like person that, but here, as we are doing it and we know, we can use who instead of which. So it should go like, regardless of the person who you select. Here we can have another grammatical problem, and I don't want to discuss that it should be who or whom because that's the object. In the descriptive way, it's quite correct. Who you select. I'm real pleased. What's the problem with this? Real pleased. Pleased is a participle and a verb used as an adjective, right? So real is used as an adverb because we know that an adverb always qualifies an adjective. Can't we use real as? Real is an adjective. But in some informal way, we also use real as an adverb. But here we must know that we don't go to that informality. So we need to use here what? Really pleased. So it should go like, I'm really pleased, or we can replace it, I'm very pleased, right? With the candidates. So if I reread the sentence, it go like this: between you and me, she has a long way to go to be an estate agent. Regardless of the person who you select, I'm really pleased, I'm very pleased with the candidates. So this is the sentence. We've seen in these few sentences picked up from real situations that all of these sentences were violating some principle of communication. Either it was clarity, or it was correctness, or anything else, or conciseness, or so and so. And we also know this, that all these principles overlap. Sometimes we can say that it is violating this clarity as well as completeness, as we have seen while we were discussing all these principles. So you must be very careful when you are chalking out these forms of communication, that you must keep these principles before your eyes, that your communication need to be clear, need to be concise, need to have consideration, and so and so and so. We also, among these, discussing these principles, we also discuss formal language and informal language. So I want to show one more example regarding these principles. I don't feel that you'll be bored or something, because this is what you are here for. You yourself have opted for this, and you want to learn what the subject is. This subject is very interesting, but the only thing that is needed, that you should show interest. So let's have an example in which we can have a formal as well as an informal piece of language. This letter begins with, "Hi, dear Mr. Imran." So which of the two is formal and which of the two is informal? Obviously, "Hi" is very informal, and "Dear Mr. Neem," this is less formal. So it depends on your relationship with the receiver of your message that which of you want to choose. It can be "hi" in very informal situation, it can be "hi," but in less formal situations it can be "Dear Mr. Neem," right? But still it has some level of formality in it. That's it, right? So let's read the further. "Thanks" or "Thank you for your recent letter." So which is formal? Thanks or thank you? Obviously the second one. "We were happy, pleased." Which one? Which is more formal or less formal? Yes, pleased. "To hear that you are interested in marketing our range of children garments." But, however, which of the two? The formal one is "but" or "however." Yes, it's the second one, "however." So, however, before we make any firm decision, make up our mind. So, which of the two? Firm decision or make up our mind? The formal is firm decision. "We would be grateful if you would provide us with or give us further information." Provide us with or give us informal, easier to understand. Information concerning about the organization of your firm. Concerning is again formal compared to about, which is easier to understand. The territory it covers, the number of retail outlets and your market share. You would have to get us, we would expect a minimum turnover. So which is the formal? Second one. Turnover of so and so before being in a position to, or we could offer you an agency. The second one is formal. We want to get, we would wish to achieve. Again the second one. A market share of at least 10% in the first 2 years. Anyway, what this said, which of the two is formal? Yes, again second one. If you feel your firm is able to meet these targets, it would be nice, it would be useful to arrange. Again the second one is formal. An appointment to have a chat about, discuss the project. Again the second one is formal, in a bit more detail further. I'll be in England from 5 to 12 May and suggest we meet. Suggest we have a get together. So which one is formal? The first one is, if this is convenient or okay. Again, here we have the first one as formal. Please confirm with my secretary if this is all right, satisfactory. Again, second one is formal. I look forward to hearing from you in the near future. I hope to get a letter from you soon. So which of the two is formal? Obviously, the second one is informal and the first one is formal. So look at the and. Yours sincerely, all the best. Again in salutation, we have two choices to pick, formal and informal. So you see that how formal letter is written and how an informal letter is written. And this level of formality is being discussed in 7 C's. We learn a lot from 7 C's from these principles of communication. So I'm sure that these few examples as well as detailed discussion about principle of communication must have given you an idea that you need this principle to bring clarity, conciseness, consideration and other C qualities into your communication. Right? So with this, I finish this topic here, and I hope that you must have learned something from these discussion, this very short exercises, and there will be a lot more in the form of written material that you will be provided with it. So from this we switch over to our next topic. Our next topic is again very interesting. Tell me one thing, when you think of any foreign country, what do you want to know? You want to know about the land, you want to know about the climate, you want to know about the language, you want to know about the lifestyle of the people, you want to know about the religion of the people, you want to know the attitudes, behavior of the people, and you want to know a lot more about these, that country. Why do you want to know? Don't you have all these things in your country? If you want to know all these things about any other country, it means that there are some differences between your country and that country. Maybe sometime you feel that there are very few differences, and sometime you feel that these differences are pole apart, that you belong to two distinct philosophies of life. Though it's there, you are a human being, and any person from that country is also a human being, and you share some basic characteristics. You have two arms, two legs, one face, all the body. These physical characteristics are the same. You wear some dress, they wear some dress. You will live in some house, some apartment. They live in some house, some apartment. You use some language, they use some language. You have certain ideas about life, they have certain ideas about life. But isn't there something which, despite your physical sameness, make us different? For example, taking our own country, we have 4 provinces, and if you are given a picture, if you are shown a picture belonging to any province, or you ask a question that to which province this picture belong to, won't you be able to pinpoint that this picture or the person in the picture belongs to the Sindh, the Punjab, the NWFP, or Balochistan? My question is, on what basis are you going to make a distinction? So far as the person in the picture is concerned, he shares the same physical characteristic as every Pakistani has. What makes him different, or what makes her different? The way the person is dressed up. Isn't it? Yeah. The way a person, we all know that person belonging to Punjab, the representative person of Punjab wears a certain type of dress. The representative person of the Sindh wears a certain type of dress. And similar is the case with NWFP and Balochistan. Beside this, let's see some very interesting thing. What do you see when you find a letter in which the second name is brought first. Similarly, what is your reaction when you have a letter and under the very salutation, yours sincerely, you have two signatures instead of one? Have you ever thought of? Similarly, in our convention, when we are writing dates, normally the day comes first, then the month and the year. But what happens when you find such a letter in which the month comes first, then the day, and then the year? Sometimes you may find letters or some correspondence in which the letter is finished without any conclusion. You may also find some letter in which there are a lot of grammatical mistakes. So, these problems make us understand differences that are found among people, that are found among different countries, and that are found in different cultures. So, our topic is intercultural communication. So, all the examples that I've just given belong to this aspect of communication. That maybe in any country, letters are signed by two people. Maybe in any country, it is intentionally no ending is given to any letter. And also this is possible that nobody bothers about any grammatical mistake in a letter. This is all done intentionally, and this is due to convention of the people or the culture of the people, that certain things are dealt with in a certain manner. So we need to understand this culture. But before we go into discussion about culture, we also need to understand a few other terms. Globalization is a buzzword. I mean, a lot of people use this word. You have this word everywhere you go. A lot of subjects use this word. We deal with different aspects, different subjects. But actually, what does it mean? In business communication, we say that globalization means that for a company to survive, it must establish market not only in its own country, but also in many foreign countries. So globalization means that if a company wants to survive in this cutthroat competition, it needs to work not only in its own country, but also in foreign countries. So it needs interaction with its own people as well as people across the globe. So, in this situation, it's very important that people of the organization should be able to understand these differences, the differences which are found between two countries, among different countries. We are living on this globe. We are, as I just said, sharing certain physical characteristics. We are all human beings. But despite this fact, we are very different from each other. on certain basis. For example, we use different languages. We are dressed up differently. We have certain norms, certain values. Values of one nation or one group of people are different from the values of another. Maybe one value is very good in your group, your culture, but it isn't as good in other culture, not regarded as good in the other culture. So in this situation, this is very important that we must understand that what are these differences which form culture, which form different groups, which forms different countries. Because if we have to survive in this era, and we have to interact with people belonging to different countries, other countries, we need to understand these people. We need to know that what are their likes and what are their dislikes, so that we could better be able to communicate. So in this regard, we need to know actually the background of culture. We also need to know what are the national variables, and we also need to know what are the individual variables, so that we could have a better idea about these things, about culture, what culture is, etc. So let's begin with it. Culture refers to the behavioral characteristic typical of a group. So culture refers to the behavioral characteristics typical of a group. I mean, there are a lot of other definitions of culture. I mean, in every book on communication, you will find that they have given certain numbers, more than 150 and so and so. And there are other subjects which deal with culture. But here, to simplify, we take this definition, that behavioral characteristics typical of a group. It means that when we refer to a culture, the people of the culture share some characteristics which are typical of them and which segregate them from other cultures. Maybe it may be a language, it may be religion, the behavior, it may be attitude, and a lot more. But one group has some very typical characteristics which are enough to make him separate from other groups. And sometimes we have groups within a groups. So to have this definition in a broader perspective and to have a better understanding of this definition, let's look at a figure. You see that it's like a flower and there are few petals. Each petal represents to a country. And in the bottom of each petal, we have a circle, a focal point. So we can say that this focal point represents to some common characteristics of human beings, physical characteristics, behavioral characteristics which distinguish man from animal. I mean, the way we talk, the way we walk, etc., etc. So all the people of the world share some common characteristics. But over these common characteristics, we have other characteristics. So if each petal represents to a country, you can see that some of the petal share characteristics with other. It means that one country shares some characteristic with another country. So we have sometime major overlap, sometime we have little overlap. For example, there may be two countries which have same language, same religion, but they have different other aspects. So we need to understand when we are studying culture that how it happens when countries share some common characteristics and when they have different characteristics from each other. This is very important that we should have an idea of these aspects. Learning these differences will help us interacting in a better way with the people of that culture. For example, we have to interact in our business situation with people of other countries. So if we know a lot about them, for example, if we know that what's their culture, what's their religion, what language do they speak, what are their norms, how they are dressed up, what type of transportation is available there, what is their economic, what is their political system. So we can easily form a picture to interact with those people. So if we know that a person of a certain culture writes very long reports, so we won't be irritated when we find a report. Similarly, if we know that people of a certain country are very slow in decision making, it won't bother us when we are dealing with those people. If we know that in a certain culture, no decision making is made or no statement is made unless some senior member of the organization speaks about that matter. So it won't surprise us. So this is very important that we must have a knowledge of the background of different cultures around us. As we have just said that it is very important in this globalization situation that we should work, or we should have business, we should have our companies, we should have interaction with other countries. And to interact other countries, this is important that we should know the culture of that country. Nowadays, especially the multinational, are very concerned about these cultural differences because experience has taught them that these cultural differences can sometimes impede the progress of their business, and knowing them can help them, aid them to do their business in different countries. So nowadays what happened is that whenever a person is to be sent to any foreign country, he is trained in the language of that country, he is made aware with the different aspect of the culture. He is given a complete background of the culture, so that whenever he is interacting with that culture, he must be well versed with it. So knowing the background of a culture is very important. We must know that a person, the concept of time, the concept of place is different in different culture, different countries, and every country go with its own convention. So after having known this, that background to any culture is very important, we discuss some cultural variables on the level of nationality, or we can say national variable. So what are these different aspects which form a national culture? Education, regulation, economics, politics, social norms, language. So these are different aspects of a culture which form national variables. When sender and receiver interact, they are not influenced by their internal and external stimuli. They are also influenced by these cultural differences, because we see that every individual has its own cultural values. So he has his own concept about other aspect. He uses a different language. He has a different level of education. He has a certain set of norms. The rules and regulation of a country makes him a different person. So, with all these things in the background, a person is interacting, and all these things influence his communication. So, today we finish our lecture here, and we'll discuss national cultural variables in the next lecture. But I want you to know that culture is very important when we are interacting with the people of other cultures. And nowadays in the workplace, it's very important that we must know the different cultures, because organizations are not limited to their own countries. They are living in a very competitive world, and to live on, they have to compete with others or other organizations belonging to other countries, and in this way they interact with people coming from other cultures. If they want to be successful, they must know that what are the cultural characteristic of people belonging to different cultures. So we will discuss these national variables in the next lecture. Today we finish our lecture here. I hope that with the discussion that we have made, you will be able to understand what cultural background is and how important this background is to every one of us, and we must know our background as well as the background of other people coming from different cultures. Thank you very much for today. Assalamu alaikum.